Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Celtic Way Champions League reaction live. Now, Celtic drew Real Madrid, RB Leipzig, and Shakhtar Donetsk in the group stage draw, which took place in Istanbul just a short while ago. I'm Tony Haggerty, as you know, and I'm joined by Sean Martin, and we're also joined by someone tonight who needs no introduction, but I'm going to introduce you anyway, sir. I'm very excited about this, as you can tell. A Scottish Cup winner with St Mirren at just 17 in 1987. This guy spent 7 years in Paisley before moving to Motherwell in 1993. After 3 years at Fir Park in 1996, he embarked on what can only be described as a football fairy tale. He ended up winning the Champions League in 1996-97 with Otmar Hitzfeldt's Borussia Dortmund, famously marking Zinedine Zidane, Juventus midfielder, out of the game. He became the first British player to achieve the accolade of winning the competition with a non-British team since it was rebranded as the Champions League. He signed for Celtic in 1997, and over the next 4 years, he won 4 league winners' medals, 2 Scottish Cups, 2 League Cups, a Football Writers' Player of the Year award in 2002, and he made another appearance in a European final when Celtic lost to Porto in 2003. He was also capped 40 times for his country, and he scored 1 goal, and was quite simply a magnificent professional footballer. He was also, when he hung up his boots, he went into football management, and he had spells as managers at Livingston, Wycombe, Colchester, Norwich, Aston Villa, Blackburn, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Stoke City and Ipswich Town. And nowadays he's carving out a reputation for being an exceptional football pundit, which brings him to us tonight. And it's an absolute honour and our privilege at the Celtic Way to welcome our special guest, the one and only Paul Lambert. Paul, how you doing?
I'm all right, Tony. How are you?
I'm very well.
Listen, can you do that introduction again? That was quite good. I quite enjoyed that.
Would you like that? I'll send it to you as an email.
I forgot some of that stuff in there.
It was up there with the Gettysburg Address, Tony.
It was longer than the Gettysburg Address, but some people need that, Sean. In the presence of greatness, that the word football legend's bandied about, but in my opinion, this man sitting here is a football legend. Paul, can I ask you first and foremost, what do you make of the Champions League draw for Celtic?
Look, I think, Tony, when you go into that level of competition, you see all the groups. It doesn't matter who you get. You know you're going to be in the bottom pot. You know you're going to get 3 really good teams. Whatever teams were going to come out, it didn't really matter because every game was going to be tough. Probably the cherry on the cake is the Real Madrid game. Everybody will talk about that, and everybody will want to be there, and all those sort of things. But Leipzig are no that is what they were a few years ago. I think Donetsk is a danger because that's the unknown. I think that's a dangerous. It's a dangerous game, that one, because people expect, as they always do in Glasgow, that the team will just turn up and win, which is a little bit different when in reality. So Leipzig, I think, is an okay tie. I think from that. Real Madrid, you take anything you can get from it, and Donetsk is I think it's a little danger there.
Tactically, Paul, I was going to say, Tony, tactically, it's interesting you mentioned Leipzig because you're right, they've not been in quite the team that they've been the last couple of seasons. You've seen that last year in the Europa League as well. But tactically, I noticed they've been going 3 at the back this season as well, which isn't something that Celtic necessarily come up against all that often. So it's almost like a wee bit of a clash of styles in a way. Is there anything like that would worry you at all from a Celtic point of view? Or?
No, Sean, I think that, listen, what I found at Parkhead, it didn't matter who came there. The fans just roll out and expect you to win or put on a show for sure. And when it doesn't quite happen, it doesn't matter if you're playing 3 at the back, 4 at the back. You have to win when you're at Celtic. And that's the beauty about it. And I've always said that. It takes big players to play there because they have to take the ball and not be frightened to make mistakes. So it takes a special type of player to play at Parkhead. So whatever system Leipzig player, Donetsk player, Real Madrid player, the Celtic fans will come, quite rightly so, because it's a huge club that they expect you to win. So Leipzig, I think, I've got a good philosophy of always press. They've always got that in them. Mm-hmm. It's funny, I spoke to Andreas Hinko at the coaching course a few months ago, and I actually asked him what happened against Rangers, and I think the atmosphere got to the Leipzig lads at that game, and that's a bit strange for me saying that because they play Bayern, they play Dortmund, they go and play Schalke, so I was surprised when he kind of said the atmosphere. And Celtic Park is a brilliant atmosphere. No matter what you say, it's going to be really, really hostile for them. If the Leipzig guys don't realise what they're in, but I'm pretty sure he'll tell them what he expects there. But it's a different thing saying what you expect in reality, because the Celtic fans will drive them on.
Tony, on Shakhtar, when you were saying, Paul, about Shakhtar there, we need to kind of point out they're not, as far as I'm aware, going to be playing their home matches at home, obviously, because of the situation. It'll be Poland, I think, which kind of adds a bit of a different dimension to it, because then it's not a home match for either team, really.
Well, that's it is, and if you are playing in Poland, then that's where it's going to be. You're still into that unknown. Mm-hmm. So the analysis lads at Celtic will need to pull out every sort of thing they need to get on Donetsk and find out exactly what they're like. There are going to be no mugs because the way they are. That's why I said it's a dangerous game, home and away, because it is an unknown fixture that people won't really recognise who's playing for them. So that's why I think that's a little spanner in the works, that game, I think.
Paul, you spoke about the Parkhead factor and how it has an impact on Celtic and their opponents, but back in Martin O'Neill's day, you guys took on the best in European football. You said there was that expectancy to win. Can Celtic replicate that with this team under Ange? Is it going places? And because the fans certainly feel that way, that they can take on the best in Europe, or certainly give them a game.
I think this is a test now, Tony. Yeah. I think the Champions League is the greatest tournament. It's the greatest tournament in club football. I don't think anybody can ever take that away from it. So you're going to come up against the best and the best players and the best atmospheres. It's a different vibe for the Europa League. And no disrespect to the Europa League or anything like that. It's still a valued competition. But the Champions League is where you'll probably sort out who can handle it and who can't handle it. And this is when the real ball comes out. I think this is proper. This is proper football, you know. But the current guys have done great to get there, and now's the time. Yep. Let's see if you can handle going to Madrid and by the way, you'll have your backs to the wall for about 89% of that game, 90% of that game. You're back, and one bit of brilliance for Real Madrid, the ball will be in the back of your net. So you have to be really concentrated of what you're up against here, and that's why the Donetsk one's a dangerous one, because it's an unknown, but the quality will still be really, really high.
See, Tony, looking at the fixtures, which obviously we don't know who Celtic have got at what stage yet, but just in general, because of the World Cup, it's almost condensed a wee bit. So it's three kind of stages of two, where you play successive weeks. So whether it's an away game or whether a home game, all right, it will make a difference, but it's just that hectic constantly now. But a couple of the ones stood out for me. The first one obviously comes right after a Glasgow derby, but the fifth one in particular, guys, it's Hearts away, then the Champions League game, which obviously we don't know if it's home or away yet, and then it's right into Livingston away. So that's the one for me, the fifth match day that you're looking at. I mean, what impact does that type of schedule have, Paul? Is it all about momentum and going one game at a time, or can it actually get quite difficult in your experience?
You know, listen, I'm going back in my time, and I'm pretty sure it's not any different. When you're at clubs like Celtic or big clubs, Dortmund, whatever, you roll up, you get the game won, and then you move on to the next one. You don't make any apologies. You've got to play 3 games in a week. If you're doing that, you're doing something right. Or you don't go, oh dear, I feel tired. This is dangerous, this game. It doesn't matter. It's because it's the size of the club vindicates that you have to win games. And listen, you know, guys, as well as I do, when you're up there in Glasgow, the fans will expect you to win. So if it's Real Madrid in match day 5 or whatever it is, the fans will expect you to go to Livingston and win. Doesn't matter. That won't. As soon as that final whistle's blown, Madrid, a day later or 2 days later, okay, we have to play Livingston, we have to win. And that's the mindset you have to have. It doesn't matter who you play. You have to have a mindset of, well, I don't feel tired, my legs are too heavy, or maybe the manager wanted to take. You want to play and you want to win games, and that's the beauty of being a Celtic player or was a Dortmund player. You knew you had to win Saturday, Wednesday. And I'll tell you what, I'd rather have that than no have it. It's a great thing to have.
you touched upon the real football. This is when it all starts, Paul. But it's that mentality, isn't it? Big players want to play these big games, don't they? They have the mentality. They have the attitude. They can handle it.
Yeah, that's why you're at Celtic, Tony. That's if you can't handle that, there's no point in signing for them, or there's no point in thinking, "Oh, it's great to be a Celtic player." I always think you're a Celtic player when you play maybe a couple of hundred games. I think it's okay playing a handful of games. It's the big games that you need to turn up, and that's the beauty about the club, and that's the greatest thing about it. It gives you that pressure of, do you know what, I have to win here, and I have to win at all costs. I have to go to Madrid and win, or try and win. I have to win on Saturday against Livingston or Hearts. That's the beauty about the club. No, and if you sign there, that's what people should expect.
Big player mentality. Well said, Paul, says Alan Robertson.
Oh.
You had a big player mentality, Paul, and it got instilled in you by one of the best coaches, Otmar Hitzfeld, and it was just a kind of continuation of that when you came to Celtic, wasn't it? But you said that was kind of a grounding for you, and it taught you, it opened your eyes, the whole German philosophy and mentality about winning big games.
At that time, Tony, the German football was booming. They'd just come back off of winning Euro 96. Schalke had won the UEFA Cup at that time in 97. We'd won the Champions League in 97. The players that I played with were incredible, strong-minded footballers, incredible players, incredible guys. And it was a winning mentality. It was a winning at all costs. But what I did find was when you win a game, let it go to the next one. Win a game, go again. Never expect people are going to say, "Oh, you're great," like that game there or this game. It was never like that. It was we had to win, and that was the same with Celtic. It was a mindset of, we have to win regardless what. Don't wait for too many pats in the back, because that was your job, was to win football matches.
I remember speaking to you years ago, and you said in the German dressing room there was the players like Mola and all that, and they guys wanted to win at the heady tennis competition that you had before training started, and it became tremendously and fiercely competitive. You said, I remember speaking to you about that, and you said that was just it. They wanted to win everything, even things like that, which were meant to be fun.
It was like that, 100%. That's what it was like. But even when we trained, you really found really quickly that if you play 1 and 2 touch, you'll be all right. But if you took 3 and 4 touches, you'll get maybe Jurgen Kohler come right through the back of you. So you learn that pretty quickly, that move the ball as quick as you can. And once I got into that mentality of it and played with the guys and became really at ease in their company and the way they wanted to play, then I was totally fine. But the winning mentality was huge. And did I bring it over to Celtic where games never fazed me? Yeah. The bigger the game, the better. I didn't want to be a lower league player or anything. You always want to be the top. And when you hit the top, which fortunately I did, then it opens your eyes to what it is.
Paul, you said 1 and 2 touch things there, and Tony's eyes lit up because almost a weekly basis, Tony, would you say that he cites a conversation he had with you about a certain Matt O'Reilly, and specifically the way that he plays the game.
Yeah.
And 1 and 2 touch comes up a lot when we talk about Matt O'Reilly. You just talk about him a wee bit, and how highly do you rate him? Because Tony goes on about him constantly in the conversation he had with you.
Well, I've seen him a few times, and I wouldn't say he's totally blessed with great pace and speed. And this is not a derogatory comment at all, but he's clever in the brain. His brain's quick, and that is a great asset to have. If your brain's quick, that'll get you out of most situations. So 1 and 2 touch, he plays it really simple, and he makes the game look dead easy. And he might not get the bigger accolades away a few Ashley gets or people like that. But when you take them out the team and they're not there, you think, oh, where is he? But his game awareness is really good. He rotates his head before he receives the ball, all those sort of things that you're looking for him to do. But his brain will be really quick than what his speed of legs are. And that, as I said before, that's probably his greatest asset. But 1 and 2 touch football he makes the simple things look so easy. Like people will think, this is normal, this is okay. But when you're on the field and people are running about you and you can move it 1 and 2 touch, then nobody will get near him. And he very rarely gives it away. He's got that great asset of not getting it away.
Paul, can I ask you, having seen the teams that Celtic have got in the group, how do you think they'll fare? How do you think they'll do? Can they qualify from the group?
Oh, they can definitely qualify. I think Real Madrid, I think will win it.
Yeah,
I think they'll win it because I think they've got streetwise footballers. They've got they announced how to win tournaments. They're the holders of it. Yeah. The Bernabeu will be. I mean, I've been there and everything. It's brilliant. The new stadium will be rocking and all these sort of things. And Parkhead will be a great atmosphere. Real Madrid will be used to these big atmospheres. Their big players will turn up, I think, to that tournament. You expect them to go through. Shakhtar is a danger, I think. Leipzig, I think you can take. I think you can take them. I just feel they're not as maybe strong as what they have been. The Donetsk one's a little bit wary when you're in that unknown, Tony. But if Celtic get a chance to qualify, 100% they have. Listen, see now Champions League football, we never qualified in 9 points. Teams can qualify in 6 and 7s now.
Yep.
But we won 3 home games at Parkhead and still get toughed out. And that's what can happen. But so 6 and 7 points can take you through. You just need sometimes a little bit of help for other teams to help you. But if Celtic can win their home games, I think they've got a great chance. But Real Madrid will be the favourites to go through.
Plenty of comments here, Tony. Full of confidence, actually. Quite a positive comment section, to be honest. Patrick McLaughlin, saying definitely think we can shock them. Great wee group next round here we come from Gary. I like this one, Michael Ross, because Paul, you mentioned there might be games, despite the way that obviously Celtic play at the moment under Ange Postecoglou, where they're not going to have the ball and it's not going to be through their choice. But Michael Ross pointing out here that the amount of pace that Celtic have got up front, that doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing. They can still trouble people.
I mean, listen, Sean, you see Man United and Liverpool the other night. Mm-hmm. Man United hit Liverpool unbelievably quick on the counter attack. There's no right way and a wrong way to win football matches. Mm-hmm. People get over bamboozled by stats, how many runs people have done, or how many passes people have done, or how many short runs you want to do. The game is simple. It's simple, and if you complicate it too much, it becomes mind-boggling. So, counter-attack football happened. It just didn't get invented the other night with Man United. It's happened 100 years since the game get invented. So, can Celtic hurt teams in counter-attack? Of course they can. But you're going to have to defend really strongly. But the counter-attack is going to be absolutely vital to Celtic, especially away from home.
Paul, you said before that we talk about there, keep it simple, and you said that you won the European Cup and Dortmund and Otmar always kept it simple, didn't he? His instructions to the players. I mean, I know you played with a group of special players, but the instructions were simple, weren't they?
Incredible. They had a great game understanding. They had a great game knowledge. The manager never really had to say to us, play 11v11 before or a bit of shape. Everybody knew where to go. Everybody knew what to do. Otmar never said to us, listen, you have to do this. He let you play with your own eyes. And the team was littered with world class players that they knew where to go. They never and listen, we had a nasty streak. Don't get me wrong, we had a nasty streak. Celtic had a nasty streak when I was there. It was a nasty streak there of we have to win. And we've done everything to try and win and become that nasty team, but a really, really good team at that time. So all the great teams have got a nasty streak in them with that. But Otmar simplified your game for you.
Yeah. What was it like, Paul? I mean, being in that team that won the Champions League and being the first British person to win it with a non-British team since it was rebranded the Champions League. I mean, I've known you for a while, and you're quite humble about it all. You've never been the big I am, but in to outsiders, you are a big I am. You are a legend of football, hero to a lot of people, and and it's special to have you on a program like this and just share some of your memories of that.
I never ever. The lads took to me pretty quickly. The team took to me pretty quickly. The fans took to me really quickly. So once I kind of settled with that, I was comfortable in their company and knew the role, how to play it, and I knew everything round about me. Regarding being humble, you find all the top players that I've ever played with or played against, they're all like that. They don't need to shout for the rooftops what they've done or put on social media or how many games they've played and all those sort of things. The top ones tend to ride the wave pretty easily, and I always found that because footballers are really fortunate. I was really fortunate to find a game and a sport that I loved and that I fitted into, and it was really the game has been really good to me. So, but I never found anything like easy. Do you know what I mean? It was always like hard work. Like, okay, but I had a great probably inner desire to succeed. Like I always had that kind of hunger, and that never left me. I think you need the hunger, Tony. I think you need.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how much money you make or how nice a house you've got or car you've got. It doesn't matter a jot. The main thing for me is when if I ever do look back in my career, which is very rare, I'll turn around and say, I like to think I've done all right. You know, I like to think I've done all right. But it's not something I really.
No, I know that, and that's why I asked you.
You know, it's not something I really sit and think. Okay, I captained Celtic in a European final. Okay, I lost it, which wasn't great. I'd won titles in Glasgow. Played with an unbelievable club in Glasgow, which was a huge football club. And if social media was alive when I was on it, I would be on it every single day. I'm not kidding. I wouldn't be. It would. I'm glad I'm not in that era where social media becomes a part of my life like the way it is with the guys now. I mean, Jesus, I've never seen so many iPhones and people on iPhones, and players can apologise for playing bad now on social media. And I think that's a danger because that deflects from how bad you probably played yourself and say, okay, I'm sorry, I'll not do that again, or we played bad. It just buys you time. It buys you time. I think that's where the game for me is a little bit different from when I was kind of playing, you know.
You would have guys round the throat, wouldn't you? Big Bobo would have.
I see so. Listen, I couldn't broadcast any live fights I saw in the dressing room. We'd be here for 4 days. But you know what? That's what drove you on.
Yeah.
That's what drove you on, and a hunger and a desire and the fire in the stomach that. And I, as I said before, I was fortunate I played in a nasty team that everybody wanted the same. So if there was arguments in the dressing room, it was great because we wanted it all the same, and we never cried over spilt milk. As soon as in the dressing room was finished, it was finished. It was over. But there was some things I saw from a really young age at 17 when I was growing up that I saw some unbelievable fights that would look like Josh and
Dissect.
from the other night. So yeah, but that was football at that time, you know.
Tony, a couple of comments just to clarify a couple of things. Stephen Divers, fixtures tomorrow, guys, is it? Looking to book Spain? I don't think it is. I think it might be as late as Saturday because the Europa League draws tomorrow and then so maybe Friday. Maybe Saturday, I think, is when people are looking at, Tony.
Paul, can I ask you as well, what's your European highlights with Celtic? I know you've said before that your biggest regret is not winning the UEFA Cup final because you would have had both set of winners' medals and that, and you played very well and lost to Porto, unfortunately. But I mean, other outstanding moments, you know, we spoke about the Juventus game earlier on this morning, stuff like that.
Do you know what? It's funny that I was actually talking about this the other day to somebody. One of the greatest memories I think I had was we got an absolute going over in Valencia, and they were brilliant over there. How they only beat us 1-0, I do not know, because if there was ever sandbags in a penalty box that night, we certainly dug them and had them in that penalty area because they absolutely, oh dear, they battered us. But it was only 1-0. And we played them at Parkhead in the return leg. And what a game it was. It was an unbelievable game. The atmosphere that night, it was electric. And we went to penalties. And I'll not forget, Big Yoss. Believe it or not, Henrik missed a penalty, which was incredible. Because the gaffer said to me, do you want to hit one? I said, yeah, I'll hit one. And I hit the first one that night. And anyway, I score. And then Henrik misses of all people, dear. And then Josh Haran missed twice. So this didn't miss once, he missed twice. And we ended up losing. But the next day or 2 days later, I got a letter from somebody in the stand at Parkhead and it was from a young schoolgirl or pupil at that time, and they said, Paul, I was sitting beside my mum or dad. I just want to say thanks very much for making me pass my exams, because I said if you score, I'll sit down and pass my exams. And it was brilliant. And I thought, do you know what I mean? I thought that was great because
that's terrific, isn't it?
Aye, so the penalty, probably, and it made that. I'm sure it was a young girl that she was sitting with her parents, and they said if Paul scores the penalty, then I'm going to pass my exams, which she did, which was nice. So that on that side was, but the game itself was incredible. The Valencia game for me was incredible. Yeah, you're right. With Juventus was an incredible game. Stuttgart at home. We've been fortunate at Celtic because we had some unbelievable teams, and by the way, I think Celtic more or less turned them all over. More or less.
Stuttgart at home, that was the game that Kalina refereed, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he asked me for my jersey. You're right. You're right. He asked me for the jersey after the game, and I gave him the jersey. You're right. That's exactly. That's just came back to me there. Yeah.
Oh well, I didn't know he asked you for the jersey.
After the game, I gave him my jersey. Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Did you take his?
You're too frightened to ask him with that stare he had, wasn't it?
He did 1,000 yards there, didn't he? Oh, but I heard he was a nice fella, to be fair to him. But...
He was a brilliant referee. He was a brilliant. That game, he had a presence. That was the beauty about it, you know.
Not a European memory, but Stuart Cameron says you were always one of his favourite players, but specifically your interview after the 6-2 game. He remembers, he thinks he knew at that point there was a great season ahead. That's interesting to pick an interview specifically. I know it's a 6-2 game. It's not as if somebody's not remembering that game, but it's interesting that he picks that interview.
I think that I think what that game done was probably put Rangers in the back foot of this Celtic team's a different team from before, I think, and they got stronger and stronger. And listen, to be fair, Rangers were good at that point as well. You've got to say they had a good side as well. And they two teams, though, from at that time, for that era, the two were going hit for hit with each other because the two were good sides. So I think that I just felt with Martin O'Neill there that the club needed a manager like him to really kick our backsides, really, and give us a hard time when we never performed, because that was a game. And I think if you always go back, I don't like comparing managers and eras, because everybody's got a different era and everybody has success the way they have success or they don't have success. But at that time, we needed Martin O'Neill to come in and sort us out, really, and give us that belief that we could go and get the title back for Rangers. And the 6-2 game was a massive catalyst to that happening.
Also another game, Paul, the game where you scored your first goal for Celtic, the screamer. Got to talk about that. I mean, the Lambert and Burley game, as it's often referred to, or the Burley and Lambert game, whatever. But yeah, I mean, that was a big win, that, wasn't it, on New Year's Day?
Do you want to see that? See that Rangers team?
Yeah.
That, for me, in all my time at Celtic, was the strongest Rangers team that I played against. Gaza, Laudrup, Goffey, Stuart McCall, God rest him, Andy Gorham, Ian Ferguson. They had steel, they had flair, they were coisty as well. They were Jury, Gordon. They were a top side. But Craig Burley was having an unbelievable season at that time. Craig scored a hell of a lot of goals from midfield, and what Vim built was an extraordinary thing to have done what he done, because we didn't have the biggest squad. We had a really strong team, I think, like 14, 15 guys. But the squad, I'm not sure it was strong enough as what Rangers were at that point. So what happened that year was incredible. I knew the pressure on it, but I loved the pressure of it. I thought, yeah, this could be exciting here. But when Craig scored the goal, because Jackie puts a brilliant reverse pass in. Jackie puts a brilliant pass in, and Craig scores a brilliant goal. And then the shot I hit, yeah, it was one of the ones where you think, sometimes a football, you just know when it leaves your foot, this is going in. But I've cut across it a little bit, and that's why it probably went into Andy's corner. So, yeah, it's one of the ones it's one of the ones that people probably we'll talk about the 2-0 game and flies into the corner, you know. So, but I said at the time, if Craig's goal had won it, that would have been enough, because we had to win, or else I don't think we'd have stopped to 10 in a row at that game.
And you also said that 10 in a row, stopping the 10 was a huge title in the history of Celtic.
Oh,
you know, just for what it meant to everybody, and you know, the supporters, and you know, and the actual achievement itself, given the backdrop that you've just described, with Rangers being, as you say, the best team that you've ever played against.
Yeah, because I think that if we never stopped to 10 in a row, I think if Rangers got it takes away the legacy of McNeil, Simpson, Auld, Gemo, Murdoch, all the guys, Lennox, Johnson. It takes away that legacy, which is, doesn't matter what you say, that is the greatest Celtic team that's ever played the game. So if you win the European Cup and you're a radius from 20 odd miles, you deserve to be the greatest ever Celtic team. And that's the legacy of it, that we could not have. The pressure was huge. We couldn't have. It'd have been an absolute disaster if we'd lost that title. And that's why I always say it was the hardest title to win, because the pressure on the guys, and Vim putting only a team on a year. He done it in a year.
Yeah.
The guys came into a country no knowing. Ange's done it, which has been brilliant his first year. But the difference between Ange and Vim, the pressure Vim had, again, God rest him, would have been ridiculous on his shoulders, but he never ever showed it. But that was one that you can never relinquish, it, that Rangers have got that 10 in a row.
I suppose we've got to ask Tony. We've got to, but I take it the biggest regret, Paul, UEFA Cup final 2003, if you can even call it a regret, because you got there, but do you know what I mean?
Oh, listen, Sean, that was galling. Do you know, it's funny that game, for me, the stadium was never big enough anyway. And that was without even a ball getting kicked. When I saw it, I thought, this ain't big enough to hold us, because I knew the Celtic fans would come over. And do you know what? Not many people have said it, but the pitch was shocking. It was shocking, the pitch. There was no water on it. It was relaid, and you could still see the seams in the new grass. And it was, for a European final, I thought it was really, really shabby to put us there. And that Porto, you've got to listen, hold your hands up to Porto, because they went to win the Champions League a year later. And Josie, regardless, I know everybody goes against Josie's thing of these players diving. See, if I was winning 3-2 a minute to go, I'd have done what Victor Bayer done and ran into the crowd, because it's streetwise. It's streetwise. And at the time, everybody thought, well, why is he doing that and all that? But the guy was clever. The guy knew he had to win a game of football and win a trophy at the end of it. But they were a right good side. If you look at their side back, you think, that's a proper team. Did we just fall short? Yeah. Bobo getting sent off never helped. But that's the game. But we were so close to it. We were really, really so close to it. But we lost our right good side.
Yeah, felt so bad for Larson that night. Yeah, I mean, I have to ask you, Paul. I mean, I've spoken to a couple of people, but the phenomenon that was the King of Kings, Henrik Larsson, 242 goals, 315 games. I mean, he was just an incredible footballer, wasn't he?
It's funny, I done an interview again the other day about him, and the people asked me what it was like, and I always turn around and say, well, I expected that film. And that's the highest compliment I can give him, because I played with Riedler and Shappy in Dortmund, and they were phenomenal. And so when I come to Celtic, I didn't know Henrik or anything like that, or his background. And when I saw that on play, I thought, this guy can play. This guy's movement's great. He comes short, he goes long. He's an incredible finish in the box. His movement in the box is great, and a really good understanding with him. And more importantly, going really well with him, which was great. But listen, I wasn't there when he gave the ball away at Hibs at Easter Road, and I bet you any money, if you look back on the comments for people saying this Larsson guy's no good enough for Celtic, was Wim Jansen done? You get all the crazy guys saying Larsson's hopeless, he's got to go, and all that nonsense, and all of a sudden, as you said there, 300 whatever it was goals, whatever it was, and became an absolute icon at the club. So did he pull us out of many holes? Unbelievable with his goal scoring. But he needed people beside him to help him. I think you say that yourself. But and if you ask Kenrick, he enjoyed playing with all the strikers that he played. But you just knew. I just always felt, seeing big moments and big games, he would produce and score. Tony, that's the greatest thing about him. Big moments and big games, big players tend to step up, and he certainly was that.
He could elevate Celtic, couldn't he?
Without doubt.
To a certain class, him and Sutton. I thought, even Big John and yourself. I include yourself in it as well.
Well, the bigger players always step up. Do you know what I mean? And when you win big trophies and titles, you expect that. Do you know what I mean? You expect it. It's not something you think, I hope. But when you win big titles, you think, well, that's what I want. I'm here for that. I'm not here to finish second. And listen, Scottish football for the last, I don't know, many years, has always been like a 2-horse race. For the last, I don't know, 10, 20 years, it's always been like a 2-horse race. You finish above Rangers, you win it. You finish below Rangers, you lose it. And that's the same for Rangers. Always, it is like that at the minute. Hearts, I think, are a decent little side this year, but I don't think they'll last the distance with Rangers and Celtic. But Robbie's done a great job. But I think when you look at Rangers and Celtic, they're in a league of their own at the minute. And when you're a Celtic player, these Celtic players, I'm pretty sure, will expect to win a title. Listen, you get some of the Celtic players when it gets a bit ropey, you tend to find the jersey starts to go over the head at times. But that's when you need the bigger players to step up. And people like Larson and all them guys always produce. Doesn't matter if they're having a bad game, they always stood up to the fight of it.
Speaking of producing, and I've often wondered why, but you told me, you gave me a big interview and you said it was something that never really bothered you, but you never got a Zidane shirt in the Champions League final, did you? You just weren't a souvenir hunter, weren't you? That's probably saying more about yourself.
No, I wasn't. Do you know what? I was never one for that. I was never really wanting to go up to get. I mean, I played against Rivaldo and Hadji and Georgie Hadji was the greatest player I'd ever played against from a standing start. I had to man mark him in Galatasaray, and we played over there, and he went away and stood on the right hand side like a winger, And Neville Scala was the coach at that time. Neville says, "Paul, follow him." So I went over, and he was the greatest player for a standing start. It was a bit like Hazard in his plum at Chelsea. He could stand you up and go unbelievable speed. So I played against great players, and but after the game, the guy, because we were that close all the time, it was always like, "Do you want to change?" I would say, "Okay, no problem." But I was never wanting to go to people, "Can I change with you? Can I change with you?" And Zidane, who I've met years later when he was Real Madrid youth coach, I met him. And I had a laugh with him at the final. And listen, don't get me wrong. At that time he was the greatest player in the world, hands down. He was 6'4". He was unbelievable finesse with both feet. He could go either way. I never realised how tall he was at that time. And both feet, elegant, classy. But again, just a humble guy. And when I met him, it justified that. But I was never wanting to go, "Hey, can I have your top?" You know what I mean? It didn't really matter to me. That I always viewed football as my job. It was my job. It was a hobby, but it was a job that, as I look back and think, I done all right. The house and cars and all that, that's immaterial. But when you win medals, for me, that's the greatest thing.
Tony, we've let a cat out the bag mentioning Henrik here, because the comments have been inundated, not actually with Henrik Larsson propaganda or anything, but asking who was a better pool player, because it's became a kind of thing, isn't it, for the two of you. So he referenced it not long ago on a Man United podcast as well, saying that you basically taught him how to understand Scottish when you were playing pool and stuff like that. But there's several comments in here going, "Did you beat him at pool though? Did you beat him at pool though?"
It was funny. I've done these things myself, and people ask me about the pool with Henrik. And do you know, it became unbelievable competitive every morning. We used to be in there at, I don't know, back at 8, half 8, we'd come in and we'd play in the green room. and so we always, listen, we never played for money or anything like that. We actually played for who would make the coffee in the morning. I liked a coffee. He liked one in the morning. So we said, whoever loses over 5 games makes the coffee. And do you know what? Every time somebody lose, you go to the door, just run about the laundry room where the coffee or the kettle was, and we came up with things like, as soon as he hit the door and I'd beaten him, or vice versa, I would hear this Swedish accent or my Scottish accent saying, "2 sugar, Henry, will you?" And I heard it in Swedish coming back, "Go you get to," sort of thing, you know. And when he beat me, I would say the exact same in Glaswegian, "But you go and get yourself to." And it became unbelievable competitive. And sometimes we'd walk into the dressing room and he'd be raging and I would be raging if I lost. The only thing I would say to people thinking Henry beat me at pool, I've never ever known any Swedish great pool player. So I thought, this guy will take a few months to get into the pool and how to handle it. And to be fair, at the beginning he wasn't that great. Then he got better and better the more he played. But I thought, so the answer to that question, over the piece, I'm going to say I'd won. He'd probably say he'd won right enough, but I'll fight my call and say I'd beaten him. As I said, there wasn't a great Swedish pool player at that time.
But there was a golf open day as well, and he got a hole in one, didn't he? I mean, it was one of them. Is there nothing that he can't do type thing, wasn't it?
Do you know? I played in that. But I was on another hole, and I heard the kind of roar thing, and he got a hole in that. He got a hole in that. Unbelievable. But listen, great player, and you're talking about humble and all those sort of things. He had that, and you can say, as I said, the different eras, different generations, different thing. My view being biased, and there's not been a better striker at Celtic Park, I think, in my day or my era or this era that can rival Larsson in this moment in time. And I know the lad few actually does great, and people like that have done well, but to hold a candle to Henry, I think you're going to have to be a little bit. You're going to have to produce in the big games in Europe to get anywhere near Henrik that way, you know.
And speaking of that, Paul, do you think, can you understand the excitement about Ange's team right now? Why Celtic supporters are getting that fervour back after the kind of attempt at 10 in a row, which didn't go so well, but they've won the title back at the first time of asking. They've got flair players like Furuhashi, Jota, and Giakoumakis banging in goal. So can you get that kind of fervour? Can you understand why it's kind of back a wee bit at Celtic now?
Oh, 100%. Tony, I think Ange's done absolutely brilliant. Again, this is what gets me, you know. The guy comes from Australia, Japan, wherever Ange's last club was. It was Japan, wasn't it?
Japan, Yokohama. Marinos, yeah.
And then you get people up in Scotland saying he loses his first couple of games. Oh, he's got to go. He's rubbish. Absolute drivel. And then the guy goes and wins the title, and he goes and wins the cup. And all of a sudden, of course, this guy can walk in water. And I'm not talking about Celtic fans saying that about the guy. I'm talking about outsiders saying that about the guy, and not giving him a chance. So, if I was Ange, I'd been sitting back in my chair at the end of that season and like that. Yeah, brilliant. I wouldn't have said too much, but I've kept it under my hat and go and try and do it again. And I said to him when I met him at the end of the season, you've got to go and do it again this season. But that's the beauty about Celtic. You don't get time to dwell on it. You have to go again and go again and go again. Whether you're a player, I can't speak for being a manager because I've done it there. But being a player, what I do know is you have to win every single game. And I'm pretty sure the manager knows that himself. In Europe, he'll find that himself. The atmosphere will be electric for him. But the fans will still expect him
to win,
to get results. Yeah. But he's done great. He's done absolutely brilliant.
Got a couple of questions, Tony. If we've still got time, Paul, but just a couple. Curtis here. If you remember, what was the best pre-match speech for Martin O'Neill? We'll go with that one.
People, the gaffer hardly. It was brilliant because that era. I keep going back to that era. The gaffer used to come in a bit of paper and read out the team, and nobody had a clue where we were playing. This is true. Nobody had a clue. So you had all you would listen out for was your name. And I remember the first couple of times he came in and he done it, and people would say to Robbo and Wally, "Where am I playing? I just heard my name." And the answer to that is, you're telling us how to play the game, or how you want to play the game. Just go out there and play. And the gaffer was brilliant. He simplified your game. It was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. he would read the team at about 2:00, and he would come in about 8 minutes to 3 and give a couple of words of wisdom, really, and walk out from there. And you think, yeah, we're ready for it. His motivation thing was brilliant, but it was only about a minute and a half or so, if that. But if you ask the gaffer again, he had some right top players who knew the game. But as I said before, Sean, what we needed was him to lead it. You always need a captain to steer that ship, and he was brilliant. But all his speeches at Celtic always hit the notes. Do you know what I mean? They always hit it. Liverpool at Anfield, we knew we could get a result there because we knew we had goal scorers in the team. That was the difference. At Anfield, we knew we could get away goals. Didn't matter where we went, we knew we could get it. But Gaffer was that wee 90-second thing with him. They just hit you right in the bottom. You could have done a really short pass, and to me that was just a normal thing. But he could elaborate on that and think, he must think I'm Pele here. That was a 5-yard pass. You think, how the hell is he doing it? But he always made you feel great. It was brilliant.
None, I suppose, more famous than getting to the point, Tony, than when he was appointed, because that's arguably the most famous thing he said, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do everything I can to bring success back to this football club.
Yeah.
He walks in and does exactly that.
Yeah, I mean, that's encapsulated by that statement in itself, Sean. Yeah, without a doubt.
What I don't actually know, this always comes with a caveat, I suppose, but if anyone, David Kearney can ask, who did you model your style of play on?
My career was a bit obscure, really, because at Motherwell I was more attack-minded kind of midfielder, you know, at Motherwell, because I had Jamie Dolan, God rest him as well, bloody terrible, and I had Billy Davis. That was a 3 midfield, because Phil O'Donnell, again, God rest him, he'd left, and myself, Billy, and Jamie were the kind of mainstay of Motherwell's midfield. I was more attacking kind of midfield. It wasn't until I went to Germany where Otmar kind of changed the whole thing, and Otmar gave me little pointers. I always knew the game, and I always knew the understanding of the game, where to be and where not to be, and stay on my feet or no stay on my feet or things like that. So as I played in Germany, the whole game changed for me. My whole perception of the game changed. I knew exactly what to do. Did I model myself on anybody? No, I never. I wanted to be myself, and I knew the hard work. Listen, the greatest compliment I think I've ever had was for an ex-teammate, and it was Andy Muller. He said, "Paul, I wouldn't have been the player I was if you never played behind me." Paulo Sousa said the same. It's 2 brilliant world-class players. I was never world-class. What I did have was a drive and a hunger that helped him, and that's a great. And I was part of a team, or I've been part of teams which have been brilliant.
That's quite a compliment, Paul, from those 2 in particular, isn't it? It's a special compliment. Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of, as you said earlier, it makes you feel I did all right.
Well, I think the thing now, you know, you asked me, Tony, about being humble and things like that. They things were more important to me than anything. With guys like that, I thought, well, these guys are genuinely world class footballers. Sousa and Sammer says nice things, and when I see that, I think, man, do you know what? I must have been all right. I must have been all right. I don't need to go on social media and all these sort of things to say how. Yeah, people can say I was terrible, good, bad, and different. But when I got it for them, I thought I must be doing something quite all right. So I just modelled myself, probably on myself, really, Sean. You know.
Well, I tell you what.
I suspected that might have been the answer, Tony. Did you? I can tell you, there's nobody calling you anything but quality in the comments anyway. That's for sure. But.
Well, I think on that note, as all right things go, I think this podcast has been more than all right. We've been joined by a fantastic guest, Paul. I can't thank you enough for your time.
No, pleasure.
Absolutely wonderful, and to share it with myself and Sean, and also the wee community of commenters and stuff that have come in. And thanks for your comments, guys, as well. But you'll agree, this guy's an absolute legend, total legend. And all I can say is, along the strap at the bottom, you know what to do, guys. Subscribe to the Celtic Way. Hit the button, £1 a month for full access to everything. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. Paul, thank you. Probably took up more of your time than you probably thought.
Time get away from us a wee bit there, but I appreciate it, Paul.
But thanks for that. Celtic get Real Madrid, RB Leipzig and Shakhtar Donetsk in the Champions League group stages. We live in hope that they can pull it off and finish in the top 2 in the group. Paul thinks I've got a good chance. I think I've got a good chance. Sean?
Good chance.
Excellent. Paul, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Pleasure. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Paul. Cheers, Tony.
Thank you.